Mike, lovely to see you. Cheshire born, so sort of back in the northwest, localish. Good to be back up here.
Yes, very good. I mean, I've been northern born and bred, and been round 18 houses in 25 years. So it's nice to be settled back in the family home.
It's very much a hotbed. I mean, you've been at Manchester City, of course, and Blackburn Rovers, but this is very much a hotbed of football, isn't it?
Brilliant. I mean, it's very difficult to try and compare football across the country, but the one thing which, because obviously I've travelled quite a bit, everybody always talks about Northwest football. So when I'm abroad, I think it's very difficult for a lot of countries to understand how congested football is in the Northwest, and I think we've all got a very proud heritage of the level of football that's in this region.
Obviously your first involvement directly with Burnley, but it'll be on your radar a long time. Where do you see the club at the minute, and how much have you enjoyed watching their progress from a distance in recent past?
I've been here a lot, obviously trying to come and look at a lot of the players that Burnley have had over the years, and I think one thing that Burnley has done is been able to actually achieve something which I think was beyond a lot of people's expectations at the time. I mean, where they finished last year and the European run was just incredible, and now coming in and being part of that is a great honour, and it'd be nice to try and play my part to contribute towards that.
It does make it a tough act to follow, but off the field the club is trying to move forward as well, which is why you're in a new role for the club. How do you sort of see that role, and B, what can you bring to aid the club's development?
Okay, really clear. My job 100% is to support Sean in his job. Sean is and this is one of the things which gets confused a lot about the role of the technical director. My job is pure and simple, is to do everything I can to support Sean. I think what he's done in this club is just beyond, is beyond comparison within, the toughest league in the world. For the club to actually achieve what it has done, not just maintaining the, Premier League status, but its run over recent years has been incredible. So my role is part of that backroom staff and play a small part. In all the clubs I've done this is, the people at the front, up front and centre, the ones that have got the pressure, the likes of Sean, and the players. Rightly so, they deserve all the credit, and all I can do is hopefully try and just bring some, more structure and organisation and support in order to enable Sean to function that little bit better.
As you say, the term technical director can mean different things at different clubs, can't it? But as you say, you'll be working across departments. Will recruitment be a large chunk of it, or is it a little bit of all sorts?
I guess the best way to describe it is probably the easiest way to structure it is we've got a great academy, and we've actually recruited some great players over recent years, just focusing on the last few years. My job is to try and pull all that together, is to try and work with the academy. We want this to be the hotbed of football for young players in the Northwest. People who can travel, get here, the pathway into the first team. We want players where that pathway, let's say, is not as easy in other clubs in the Northwest. So anything I can do to support the academy and actually enable them to do their job in order to produce players and get them into the first team. And then secondly is a big part of it is recruitment. So it's all the succession planning. If we haven't got players that are coming through the system, it's go out there. And that was a big part of the discussion when I met Mike and Mike Garlick and Sean, was about what their expectations were, and that it's been incredible what this clubs have achieved by bringing in Kieran Trippier, Ben Mee, James Tarkowski, these good players from from other English clubs. What we're trying to do now is stretch that network globally, and we're only going to do what every other Premier League club are trying to do, and that's compete on a global level to hopefully try and bring players in to support Sean.
You've got a vast CV, worked at some very good places, good clubs, you've worked for countries. Presumably a bulging contact book can only help.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've had a great journey, and I've been really lucky to achieve what I've done, being part of, starting out on the community scheme, which is a great, I think remember fondly about, my time in the community scheme. But it's a great grounding because I've realised, I've not just been in clubs like Manchester City where they've had the, the wealth of Abu Dhabi. I've gone into clubs where you have to be creative and you have to try and use your resources as best you can. So I've had a flavour of everything. But every club I've been at, I've just been a small part of the, of the function of that club. I've never been in a position, and I've never tried to claim that anything has been, solely down to me, and that's really important that I maintain that, here at Burnley. I'm only part of what will be a bigger infrastructure of some really good people behind the scenes, and as much as I can play my part in that, then that's going to be important.
And I presume it goes without saying how important it is at a club of our stature and our size in the Premier League. You've really got to try and maximise every department to keep competing at that level, haven't you? Because as we know, and you've alluded to, just in the Northwest, there's huge rivals. It's a tough environment the club's in.
We haven't got billionaire owners. I mean, there's no delusions of grandeur in the club, I'm sure, but we haven't got billionaire owners that are able to compete with, global clubs like Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, and even though they're having a tough time at the moment. So I think we've got to be, our expectations got to be realistic. We are a Premier League club, and it's a proud, and what I am aware of, many friends who've been part of this club for many years. It's a very proud club with a lot of community links, and it's a very central part of the community, and I think it's really important I come in and understand that, and also have the values of what this club's about, and its its heritage and support to the community. And as much as we're trying to get players from the community, we're also going to try and bring players in that maintain success on the pitch. And some of them players will be from understandably outside of the community. And like I said, it's the global network, and it's not just my contact book, but it's more to do with the structure and processes we put in place.
Sean has said before a few times that because of the progress the club's made, in some ways we're still playing catch up with a lot of clubs in terms of recruitment and our network, if you like. And I know there's a lot been said about our British contingent of players, which is a real strength. And Sean has merely said he likes overseas players, but up to now we've just not had that network of people. Is that something that you will look to develop? Yes,
so that was very much... I was a little bit apprehensive going in to see, if apprehensive's the right word to use, when I was sitting down with Mike and Sean in the process leading up to this. And you're often in a position where you're thinking, right, is the owner pushing this and the manager doesn't really want it, or does the manager pushing this, the owner doesn't want it? They were absolutely amazing, the pair of them. I mean, they were so aligned. And I think what they did say is what the club's achieved over recent years has been phenomenal. But in order to maintain that, we can't stand still. And like everybody else, in all clubs, not just here, we're competing not just with Premier League clubs, we're competing with clubs, in the big leagues across Europe. We're competing with players that have got the choice to move anywhere they want. The big part of the discussion I had with Sean and Mike during that process was being able to open this network. And I very much, and it's an important part of this, I very much work on a first and last, and I call it the first and last with Sean. And it's really important that everybody understands, or, certainly within the departments, Sean has the first say. In other words, what do we want? Where do we want it? And when? Is it the winter window? Is it the summer? It's all about constantly looking to rebuild the squad. And then the last part is he's got the last choice. My job is to try and pull the departments together to make sure that we've got more than enough options to actually sit down with Sean at that last say. So he says, that's the player I want. So there will never be a player that's brought into the club, certainly, while I'm here as technical director, that will ever be forced on Sean. And this is one of the things that a lot of people misunderstand about the role of the technical director. I will not, in any way, shape or form, unless Sean asks me to sit and discuss with him as part of his, as he will do with the rest of his backroom. My job is not to pick the players. My job is to give Sean enough options where he says, that's the player I want to actually take us on to another level. So having that first and last say is absolutely the responsibilities of Sean. My job is to make sure he's got enough options to choose from.
And it's a long-term job, but is January important? Do you have to depend on what happens with the team at the moment, or what's immediate priorities?
We all know every window is important, and every club I've ever been at, and every people I've ever spoke to, nobody wants to do any business in January, and everybody does business in January because it's a transfer window. And I think part of my job is being prepared for the what ifs. What if Real Madrid come in? What if Manchester United want a player? What if, touch wood, a player picks up an injury? So the role of the technical department, the technical director and the scouting departments is make sure that the club's always got enough options. What's really important, and you alluded to early on, that doesn't happen overnight. So the complex nature of the transfer window, it's getting harder and harder. Values and finances are going up, demands from agents, players, families are all going up. It's trying to keep that in check, but at the same time being ambitious enough to bring in, constantly looking to try and refresh the squad and improve what's going out there on the pitch.
You don't officially start till the 1st of December. Have you had much chance to dip your toe in it? Obviously, Mike and Sean have spoken to you in depth. You have the facilities, obviously, we've got, and the existing infrastructure, and you'll work with the existing staff. What's the early feelings?
I first went to the training ground when I was 18. It's indicative of the club and how they've invested off the pitch as well as on the pitch to, build world-class training facilities, because that's also a really important part when you're talking to prospective players at every age.
And it goes without saying that everything is geared up, and yourself coming in towards Premier League football.
Yeah.
That's never a given, particularly for a club of this stature.
No.
But it goes without saying no stone will be left unturned to try and make that a long-term thing here at Turf Moor.
This isn't being negative or not ambitious, but we cannot afford to stand still, and we cannot afford just to take the presumption that we did so well last year. You only have to look around us, not far from here, clubs like Swansea, Stoke in particular, some of these clubs that, they've had a great heritage and they've had a great run in the Premier League, but there's no, God-given right for us to stay here. So the key to this is to constantly reinvent, because everybody else is moving forward. Everybody else is doing something which we don't want to just stand still. So, a big part of my job is to be supporting all the departments, be it the medical, be it the academy, be it the scouting, recruitment, to make sure that we remain competitive in the market for players, be it players coming into the academy or players directly into the first team.
So lastly, Mike, how excited are you by the challenge? How much are you looking forward to getting your teeth into it? And where do you think it can go? I mean, as I say, so high last year, but in terms of still growth within the club?
I think it's managing expectations. I mean, first off, to answer your question, I'm absolutely delighted and I'm honoured to be here. Not just because it's a technical director's position at a Premier League club, but it's Burnley with a great history. And unfortunately, I didn't get to experience any of the the European nights that you had earlier on this season. If that comes back, fantastic. But to manage expectations, Premier League's where we deserve to be, and that's where we're going to fight to. And everything I can do to support Sean will be about maintaining Premier League status.
Well, we wish you well. I'm sure you'll do well.
Thank you very much. Thanks.